Welcome to the 2019-20 school year. My name is Brad Jadarski. I'm the Oshkosh West Activities Coordinator, and I'll be your narrator through this year's online athletic code meeting presentation. Please remember, competing in athletics is a privilege. It is not a right. You are a student athlete first and foremost, and academics come first. The Oshkosh West Athletic Department has a vision statement. That is to educate, inspire, and shape the next generation of leaders through commitment, competition, and service to the team, our school, and our community. We also have a number of core values for the athletic department. 1, do the right thing. Integrity and honesty in thoughts, actions, and words. 2, strive for greatness. Excellence in academics, athletics, and character. 3, lead with a purpose. Selfless commitment to team goals. 4, promote the Wildcat culture. Pride in self, team, and school. And 5, raise the bar. Inspire others to be their best. Our vision statement and core values help dictate how we come about decisions regarding our athletic department programs. We also have a Wildcat Creed, which is found inside the back cover of this year's co-curricular handbook. We strive for all students to be an 11, which means do the right thing all of the time, lead with a purpose by setting the example, and promoting the Wildcat culture, show your Wildcat pride. Also, we have a common weight training philosophy in regards to athletic participation. Please note, all programs are tailored to meet each sports program's need. Weight training will be a part of your season when you are in season, and we hope that you find time to participate in weight training outside your season, as we believe being physically fit allows you to perform at the highest level. Regarding our core values, we believe weight training helps strive for greatness by doing year-round effort. It helps raise the bar by encouraging others, and it helps you lead with a purpose by setting the example. Oshkosh West is extremely proud to be partnered with Ascension Sports Medicine regarding our licensed athletic trainers and our athletic training program. This year, Oshkosh West will have 3 athletic trainers at West during the course of the school year. Tyler Van Sistine, who was here last year, will be returning this year. New to Oshkosh West as athletic trainers will be Travis Herring and Dan Gary. Travis will predominantly work with athletic training needs in the athletic training room. Dan will be involved in our weight room as well as in our athletic training room. We are extremely excited about this expanded role of sports medicine services for our student athletes and parents. So please, if you work with an athletic trainer, take the time to thank them for all they do in keeping you safe and getting you back to performing if you are injured. Tyler's contact information is found on this slide. Dan's and Travis's will be available at a little later time. The next number of slides are going to be in regards to athletic training information. As I mentioned, at Oshkosh West, we will have 3 licensed athletic trainers provided by Ascension Health System who will be available after school hours and at sports for coverage. Athletic training room hours will be daily from 3 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday on school days. Licensed athletic trainers practice under the direction and in collaboration with physicians and other healthcare professionals. They evaluate and treat injuries and provide rehab to the injured. They provide immediate care in the event of a game injury, and as needed, they will provide physician referral if necessary and will communicate with the parent and coaching staff about this process. Concussions are an extremely important thing and have been in the forefront of the media in recent years. Please note, a concussion is a brain injury and all concussions are serious. Concussions can be serious injuries with fatal consequences if not evaluated and treated properly. All concussions require an assessment and individualized treatment recommendations. Concussions can occur in any sport. They can be caused by a direct blow to the head or an injury to the body resulting in an indirect force to the head. Any suspected concussion should be referred to the licensed athletic trainer. Concussions are a traumatic brain injury that impairs the brain's ability to carry out normal functions. There are many varied symptoms that can describe a concussion, and not all are visible. Some include headaches, dizziness, confusion, nausea, light and sound sensitivity, difficulty concentrating, memory loss, feeling slowed down, and personality changes can all be indicators of a possible head injury. The licensed athletic trainers will perform preseason impact concussion testing to get a baseline of the athlete's neurological functions. All freshmen and juniors will be impact tested, and anyone who didn't take the test last year or is new to the school. Should the athlete sustain a suspected concussion, this pre-evaluation can be utilized by a physician to help determine the proper course of treatment for a return to play. Only contact sports are tested. Any non-contact sport athlete may be tested upon request of the licensed athletic trainer. Non-impact sports are swimming, cross country, tennis, track, and golf. Parents and coaching staff will be contacted in the case of a suspected concussion. Parents will be directly notified and an informational sheet will be sent home. Athletes should be seen as soon as possible by the athletic trainer, then referred to a physician for further evaluation. All athletes will be kept out of all practices and activities while presenting any symptoms. They will see the licensed athletic trainers daily to track symptoms. When the athlete is asymptomatic, the parents will need a physician's clearance for the return to practice or play protocol. Once cleared by the physician, the licensed athletic trainers will run the athlete through a gradual return to play protocol. This process involves reintroduction of simple cardio, progressing to longer durations of cardio, to strength training, to limited practice conditions, a full practice, and then full return to practice and play status. Coaches are instructed to use the following procedure with student athletes and concussions. When in doubt, sit them out. Parents and athletes are required to turn in a signed concussion information sheet once per school year before they can participate in any sport, including practice. Again, students, you should never try to hide the fact that you may have a concussion. Concussions are very serious things and need to be treated quickly and correctly. Additional information on concussions can be found at the WIAA website below. Also, the WIAA provides concussion insurance for all member schools. Parents, this insurance is secondary to a family's primary insurance. Information regarding this concussion insurance is available from the school athletic trainer. Pre-existing medical conditions. It is very important the licensed athletic trainers and coaching staff are notified by the parents and athletes of any prior or current health conditions. Examples would be diabetes, asthma, allergy and allergic reactions, heart conditions, or any conditions that could impact the athlete's personal safety during play. If an athlete carries an inhaler or an EpiPen, make sure the coaching staff and teammates are aware of this and where to find it in the case of an emergency. Hydration. Athletes should consume at least 16 to 20 ounces of water 2 hours before practice and at least 8 ounces in the 15 minutes prior to practice beginning. Athletes should regularly consume water during breaks in practice, even if they don't feel thirsty. Feeling thirsty is not a proper measure of hydration. 48 ounces, or roughly 2 normal bottles of water, can be taken in during the course of an hour of strenuous practice. After exercise, for every pound of water lost, athletes need to ingest 16 to 20 ounces of water. That is 1 bottle of water for every pound lost. This does not include the normal 6 to 8 bottles of water a person should also drink normally throughout the day. In order to participate in athletics, a student athlete must have a valid physical on file with the school. Physicals on or after April 1 of 2018 are valid for the 2019-20 school year. So please make sure your physical is on file with the school. You may have had it at the doctor's office, but we may not have it at school on file, and we must have it on file at the school. At this time, I'm going to ask you to open up your OASD co-curricular handbook and go back to the banned substance appendix found in the back of the book. That is the WI banned substance list. Please note, is the student athlete's responsibility to check with the appropriate or designated athletic staff or school official before using any substance or supplement. Any substance chemically related to a banned or discouraged ingredient is also banned or discouraged. There is no complete list of banned or discouraged substances. Banned substances. Do not use these, students. Drugs that are legal or could be harmful if taken in excess amount. Possession and or use violates the WIAA and OASD Code of Conduct. However, if you have to take a banned substance because it is being prescribed by a medical professional, that would not be considered a violation. We would just need proof of that requirement to take that prescription on file with the school. So again, regarding performance enhancing and banned substances, note, banned substances are a violation of the district's and WA Code of Conduct if used, so athletes, please do not use those. Please be aware of the discouraged substance. Also on the second page are permissible supplements. When in doubt, don't take the substance. Seek out the information of the athletic director and or coach to see if it's something that would be allowable. At this time, I'm going to ask you to make sure you have your yellow OASD co-curricular handbook for this year. I'm going to ask you to open it up. Be familiar with the table of contents. And the next number of slides in this presentation are going to go over highlights of the district's co-curricular handbook. Please be advised, parents and student athletes, you are responsible for all of the information found within the handbook. I'm going to cover a number of the more important areas that will be highlighted in this video presentation. But if you have a question about anything at any time, please contact the athletic director, Mr. Jadarski, in the main office. On this slide, the WIAA.wi.org web address is the web address to find all of the information regarding the WIAA, which is our state governing body. There's a wealth of information there for parents and students. Feel free to access that website at any time. On pages 3 to 4 of the co-curricular handbook are the requirements for a student athlete to begin participation in a school-sponsored sport. You must have a valid physical on file with the school, dated April 1 of 2018 or later. Depending on the date of that physical, you might also be required to turn in a WIAA alternate year card. Students will need to turn in a signed agreement of parent-athlete form, which is also considered the insurance waiver form. If applicable, students must pay the athletic fee, preferably before the first contest in that sport. Parents and students will be asked to fill out a pink emergency card as well as the back of the agreement of parent-athlete form, which is a state-required emergency form. On that form, students will be asked to list any pre-existing medical condition or medical condition that the coaching staff or athletic trainer would need to be aware of. Students and parents will also need to turn in a signed concussion acknowledgement form, which will be provided at the sport eligibility meeting or can be obtained by stopping in the athletic office and getting one from the athletic director. So, the physical form and or alternate year card, agreement of parent and athlete form, athletic emergency form, and signed concussion acknowledgement form all must be turned in to the athletic office before a student will be cleared to begin practice. The athletic fee, again, should be paid, if applicable, prior to the first competition scheduled in that particular sport. On pages 5 and 6 is information about the district's athletic fee. For the 1920 school year, the athletic fee is $50 per sport, a $100 individual limit per school year, and a $175 family limit per school year. Please note the individual and family limits are high school individual and family limits. If you have a student athlete in middle school, there is a separate fee structure for middle school athletics. Fees can be paid at the school bank, and we encourage you to please pay for those as soon as possible. If you participate in the district's free or reduced meals program, on the agreement of parent and athlete form, there is a box you can check on the bottom where the fee is waived if you participate in the program, and by checking that box, you are providing permission for food service to share that information with us to have that fee waived. On pages 6 to 8 is information regarding the district's academic requirements. Please note a student athlete must be considered a full-time student meeting DPI requirements and have received no failing grades, including incompletes, in the most recent grade reporting periods to be academically eligible. At the high school, we use the 10-week grading mark of first semester grades, the 10-week grading marks of second semester and second semester grades. So for all fall returning student athletes that are sophomores through seniors, we will be using your second semester grades from this past school year. All incoming freshmen in the fall start the year academically eligible. However, students, you must do the job in the classroom first and foremost to stay academically eligible, as if you have one or more failing grades, you will miss part of your athletic seasons. Regarding fall sports, the ineligibility status for students in WIA fall offered sports in which the date of earliest allowed competition is before the first day students are in class is as follows. Students with more than one failing grade, the minimum ineligibility period shall be the lesser of 21 consecutive calendar days beginning with the date of earliest allowed competition in a sport, or 1/3 of the maximum number of games or meets allowed in a sport, rounded up if 1/3 results in a fraction. Once classes start, students will be required to follow the weekly academic eligibility grade check process. That's for students with more than one failing grade. For students with one failing grade in fall sports, students shall be ineligible to participate in 20% of the scheduled games or meets in a sport, rounded up if 20% results in a fraction. However, student athletes in fall sports will be eligible to participate by the WIA criteria for students with more than one failing grade if the criteria for one failing grade results in a penalty that exceeds the penalty for more than one failing grade. Once classes start, students will be required to follow the academic eligibility process. Again, that is the process for fall sport participation. For winter and or spring sports, students, like I said, must have no failing marks in the most recent grade reporting period. Should a student become academically ineligible with one failing grade, which is on page 7 of the co-curricular handbook, he or she may not participate in competitions or performances for a minimum of 7 consecutive school days and nights while the activity or sport is in session. The student may return to competition on the A school day provided the student received at least a 2.5 grade point average in the most recent grade reporting period. If the student had a grade point average of less than 2.5 in the most recent grade reporting period, they must follow the academic eligibility form process, which is picking up a grade sheet from the athletic director, having it signed by each and every teacher of their classes, and the student must be passing each and every class each and every week. That would continue on until the next grade check time, meaning a student could be eligible one week and ineligible the next. On page 8, should a student become academically ineligible in a winter or spring sport with more than one failing grade, he or she may not participate in competitions or performances for a minimum of 15 consecutive school days and nights while the activity is in session. The student may return to competition on the 16th school day, provided the student is passing all their classes. They would also be required to follow the academic grade check process, which is getting the grade sheet from the athletic director, having it signed by all of their teachers, and the student must be passing each and every class each and every week. Meaning a student could be eligible one week and ineligible the next. Students who received one failing grade and who had less than a 2.5 grade point average in the most recent grade reporting period, or students who received more than one failing grade in the most recent grade reporting period, will have a chance to regain academic eligibility at the 5 or 15-week grade reporting period. These students will have their grades checked at this time, and if they have no failing grades, they will no longer be considered academically ineligible. So students, the moral of the story is do the job in the classroom first and foremost to stay academically eligible. If you are academically ineligible, you will lose participation opportunities. On page 9 and 10 of the co-curricular handbook, we're going to talk about illness, out-of-town travel, and vacations. Regarding illness on page 9, number 5, A student must be present at all classes on the day of a practice or competition to be eligible to participate. Only permission from school administration or the activities coordinator will permit a student to compete after missing classes. Students may not participate in any competition or performance or practice if they are out ill for any or all of the school day without permission from school administration or the activities coordinator. Students, if you are ill in the morning and you contact school ahead of time and let us know your situation, typically, if you can get to school for the second half of the day, we may provide you permission to participate. However, you must contact school administration in the morning right away. If you go home in the afternoon for the second part of the day because you're ill, you will not be allowed to participate in practices or performances that night in most all cases. Regarding out-of-town travel, number 7, a student who travels to an out-of-town contest with a school or team must return with the team. The only exception to this rule is if the student's parent is present at the out-of-town site, he or she may request the student returns with the parent. This request must be made in person by the parent to the coach, and the parent will also have to sign off that they are taking their child. Note, the coach has the option whether or not to grant permission. And parents, this is permission for your child and your child only, and it must be the parent and or legal guardian that is requesting to take their child. Those are the only situations that are allowed. On page 10 of the co-curricular handbook regarding vacations, under number 11, at the discretion of each coach, when a student is absent due to being on vacation with his or her family, upon returning to the team, the student will not be allowed to participate in competitions equal to 1/2 of the number of competitions the student missed. If the student is absent due to being on vacation with someone other than his or her family, the student will not be allowed to participate in whatever number of competitions were missed, 1 competition for each competition missed. Please note, if a student misses only practices but not competitions due to being on vacation with family or friends, this may impact playing time for the student upon their return, because those that were there still practicing and working hard made a choice to not be gone. Students and parents are encouraged to speak with their coach as soon as possible if they will miss any part of their season. Again, communicating early and upfront is critical and important. On pages 10 to 13 are some additional topics that I'd like to talk about regarding in-district transportation, use of cameras and or other recording devices in locker rooms, club athletic programs, and the WIA non-school competition rule. On page 10 of the co-curricular handbook, on number 15, note the district does not provide transportation for students to any practice sites and some home competition or performance sites. In these situations, it is the responsibility of students, parents, and or legal guardian to provide their own transportation to those sites. This happens for some competition sites against Oshkosh North, some golf for golfers. This happens quite frequently regarding practice and or meets at the golf course. On page 11, use of cameras and or recording devices in locker rooms. The Board of Education recognizes the importance of protecting the privacy interests of the district students and is committed to safeguarding students' privacy in the locker room facilities. Note policy 9151 addresses this. A couple things I'd like to mention in regarding that. No images of a nude or partially nude person in the locker room may be captured, recorded, or transferred under any circumstance by any individual. A recording device means a camera, video recorder, cell phone with a video and or photograph capabilities, or any other device that may be used to capture, record, or transfer images. On page 12 of the district's co-curricular handbook, number 16, regarding club athletic programs. The district understands that students may want to participate in club athletic programs during the school year during their high school sports season. As a result of this, the athletic departments would like to provide guidance for parents and athletes concerning this issue due to the financial and time commitment associated with club athletic programs. The athletic departments have adopted the following policy regarding club athletic programs during a student's high school sports season. For varsity athletes, if a student is on a varsity high school team, the head coach will determine whether or not students will be allowed to practice or participate in a club athletic program during their varsity high school season. If a coach's position is no club athletic participation during the varsity high school season, it is based on the premise that a student's loyalty and allegiance should be to the high school team. Regarding non-varsity athletes, if a student is on a JV or freshman high school team, students will be allowed to participate in club athletic programs during their JV or freshman high school season with the following stipulations. 1. The student and parents need to inform the coach about their intentions as soon as possible. And 2. Students will not be allowed to miss a high school scheduled practice or competition for a club athletic practice or competition. If this policy potentially will apply to you, please have a conversation early with the coach of the sport your child is participating in, preferably with the head coach, and that coach will direct you possibly to the JV or freshman coach if needed. Regarding WA non-school competition rule on the bottom of page 12 and the top of 13. It is the philosophy of the WAAA that a student owes loyalty and allegiance to the school and team of which he or she is a member during the season of a given sport. Athletes may compete in not more than 2 non-school competitions with school approval during each regular sports season. So if this is something you want to do, you must get school approval ahead of time. The contest will not count against the individual maximum for the athlete in that sport. Non-school competition will not be allowed during the respective WIAA tournament series in a sport. A student becomes ineligible in a sport for the remainder of the season for competing in more than 2 non-school games, meet, or contests in the same sport during the season of practice and competition established by the school. The way we address this policy at West is if you have a desire to participate in a non-school program, talk to your head coach first. If they are comfortable with it, then you will come to the athletic director to get a form to fill out and sign. Please note, this must be done ahead of time, getting school approval first. On pages 13 to 15 is information regarding the district's code of conduct or behavioral expectations for students involved in athletics. Because participating in athletics is a privilege, we have higher behavioral expectations than students in high school who do not participate in athletics. The code of conduct must be observed by all students throughout the calendar year, not only when the particular activity is not in session, but also when school is not in session. Please note, in all situations involving possible violations of the code of conduct, administrative discretion will determine whether or not there is an actual violation of the code of conduct. A student must refrain from any conduct at any time that would reflect unfavorably on himself, herself, or the school. Conduct which would reflect unfavorably on a student or on the school includes but is not limited to the following. Letters A through R. I want to emphasize some of these areas in particular, but note students are responsible for knowing and reviewing, and parents all areas A through R. Letter A. Use, possession, buying, or selling of controlled substances, street drugs, illegal drugs, and or performance-enhancing substances. Drug paraphernalia, including sale, possession, or use. In situations where controlled substances, street drugs, illegal drugs, performance-enhancing substances, and or drug paraphernalia are found at a student's home property or personal property, this district's position will be that the student was in possession of the controlled substance, street drugs, illegal drugs, performance-enhancing substances, and or drug paraphernalia. The burden of proof will be on the student to convince school administration that he or she did not know the controlled substances, street drugs, illegal drugs, performance-enhancing substances, and or drug paraphernalia were present. B. Use, possession, or purchase of alcoholic beverages. In situations where alcohol is found at a student's home, property, or personal property, the district's position will be that the student was in possession of the alcohol. The burden of proof will be on the student to convince school administration that he or she did not know the alcohol was present. Letter C. Use, possession, or purchase of tobacco in any form. Use of tobacco means to chew or possess any substance containing tobacco, including smokeless tobacco, in the mouth to derive the effects of tobacco, as well as all uses of tobacco, including cigarettes, cigars, pipe tobacco, chewing tobacco, snuff, or any other matter or substance that contains tobacco, in addition to papers used to roll cigarettes or the smoking of electronic vapor or other substitute forms of cigarettes, clove cigarettes, or any other lighted smoking devices for burning tobacco or any other substance. In situations where tobacco is found at a student's home property or personal property, the district's position will be that the student was in possession of tobacco. The burden of proof will be on the student to convince school administration that he or she did not know the tobacco was present. Letter F. Criminal offense or a violation of a state statute or city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart, not to include such violations as traffic, jaywalking, or similar minor citations. Letter I. Knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and/or drug paraphernalia. In situations where it is noticeably apparent to law enforcement officials that alcohol, illegal drugs, and/or drug paraphernalia are present, the district's determination will be that the student was knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and/or drug paraphernalia. Students may be at an establishment which is primarily for eating and may be present at a ceremony-type activity such as a wedding reception. Students may only be present at a bar or tavern if they are with their parents. Letter N. Behavior or conduct which reflects unfavorably on a student, which is a very broad statement and could include a number of different areas, such as getting an in or out of school suspension. Another example, were you participating in a behavior which was a possible violation of the law? P. Illegal or inappropriate use of the internet and or electronic devices. Any posting or communication via social networking websites which disrupts either the educational or athletic environment is unacceptable. This includes, but is not limited to, the consumption of alcohol or the use of illegal drugs or facsimiles, inappropriate sexually oriented material, or activities involving bullying, hazing, or harassment. What are you using your cell phone for? What are you using social media for? Anything that you send, post, you can and will be held accountable if it ends up on the desk of a school official. Letter Q. Hosting a party. A person who has a gathering at his or her home, property, or personal property where alcohol, tobacco, drugs, or drug paraphernalia are permitted by such person to be used and or brought into the home, property, or personal property may be given a penalty at the higher level. Administrative discretion will determine the length of penalty. Letter R. Supplying, bringing alcohol, drugs. Any person who brings, supplies alcohol, tobacco, drugs, or drug paraphernalia to another person or persons may be given a penalty at a higher level. Administrative discretion will determine the length of penalty. In the event another individual engages in this behavior on behalf of the athlete, there will be a presumption that the other individual acted as an agent of the athlete, and the athlete will receive the same punishment as if the athlete had been the supplier. Please note, under the complaint process on page 15, school administration will consider statements made by students to law enforcement officials, which are verbally shared with school administration or are found in a written law enforcement report, as factual and truthful statements. If a student, upon questioning by a school official, recants on such statements made to a law enforcement official, the district's position will be that the statements made to the law enforcement official were truthful, and as such, it will be up to the student to convince school administration otherwise. Students, you are all given the ability to make choices. Please make good choices. Realize any choice you make can have a consequence, meaning you can lose the ability to participate in athletics. So if you find yourself in a bad spot or in a jam, call a friend, send a text message to a family member to pick you up, leave, get out of that situation. Also, don't be afraid to come forward and inform a school official that you found yourself in this bad situation, but you left. And oh, by the way, Mr. Jadarsky, here's my text message. Here's the phone call that was made. You can contact my parent or friend that I did ask them to leave at this such and time. Don't be afraid to come talk to us about something that happened to you if you got away or left a bad situation because something was going on that you didn't want to be a part of. We are reasonable people and will make reasonable decisions. But if you decide to stay and the police show up at any time, or if you decide to stay for any amount of time, and then later something happens and you're found to be involved in it, there can be a consequence for you for being at that situation. When a violation occurs, the suspension will be in a WI sport in which the student participated in last year or the next WA sport in which the student participates. Note, a student may not join a sport to serve a suspension for a code of conduct violation after the first scheduled contest in that sport has taken place. When any suspension results in a fraction of a game, the number shall be rounded up to the next whole number, meaning games and or number of dates on the schedule depending how your sport counts contest as allowed by the WIAA. Please be aware of simultaneous consequences. Students may participate in simultaneous activities. However, if a student incurs a violation, he or she shall be penalized according to the code for each activity if any or all of the activity seasons are taking place simultaneously. On pages 17 through 19 are the penalties for code of conduct violations in areas numbered 1 through 9. Use, possession, buying or selling of controlled substances, street drugs, illegal drugs, and or performance-enhancing substances, drug paraphernalia, including sale, possession, or use. Use, possession, or purchase of tobacco in any form. Use, possession, or purchase of alcoholic beverages. Knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia. Acts of vandalism. Hosting a party. Supplying, bringing alcohol or drugs. School AODA violation, or use of tobacco, nicotine, and related products by students. For those 9 areas, a first violation for a Category A, which our sports are, is suspension for 25% of the regular season or the equivalent of 25% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistance program or similar approved educational program in order to be reinstated. Note, for first-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia. Suspension for 12.5% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistance program or similar approved educational program in order to be reinstated. Something new. For second-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia, without any other first-time offense in areas number 1 to 9 as found above, meaning the second time you would have a violation for being knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia. The suspension would be for 40% of the regular season, or the equivalent of 40% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistance program or similar improved educational program in order to be reinstated. Also, any student with a previous code of conduct violation in this area who meets the definition above for a second-time offense will be eligible for this new language. A second violation for areas 1 through 9, suspension for an entire season or the equivalent of an entire season. A third violation, suspension for 1 full school year or the equivalent of 1 full school year. A fourth violation, the student loses the privilege to participate in all co-curricular activities during the remainder of his or her academic career in the district. Now, we do have a policy that rewards being honest and or turning yourself in. On page 19 is our self-referral policy, which has been in place for a number of years. If a student presents himself or herself to the activities coordinator at his or her school as a person who has violated the code of conduct in the areas numbered 1 to 5 as found below, that student will have his or her penalty reduced. For this to occur, the student must self-admit no later than the first school day after the violation has occurred and the information cannot already have been shared with school administration from another source. Administration may grant an extension to the 1 school day provision due to extenuating circumstances. Students and their parents are strongly encouraged to self-report violations of the code during the summer months to the activities coordinator as soon as possible. So self-referral is turning yourself in without school already being aware of the violation. Something new this year is an honesty referral. If a student, upon a first questioning by the activities coordinator or other school administrator, provides truthful information about committing a code of conduct violation, in the areas numbered 1 to 5 below, that student will have his or her penalty reduced. For this to occur, the school must be conducting an investigation and not have had a law enforcement report and or published written account and or by other factual credible means confirming the student had committed a code of conduct violation. Basically, if upon a first questioning you admit that you did break the code and you meet the criteria outlined in that honesty referral, there will be a reduced consequence. Basically, by either turning yourself in or being honest, there is a reduced penalty. So, areas number 1 to 5 that are covered for a self-referral and or honesty referral are 1, start on page 20. Use, possession, buying, or selling of controlled substances, street drugs, illegal drugs, and or performance-enhancing substances. Drug paraphernalia, including sale, possession, or use. 2. Use, possession, or purchase of tobacco in any form. 3. Use, possession, or purchase of alcoholic beverages. 4. Knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia. And 5. Acts of vandalism. A first violation with a self-referral. Suspension for 12.5% of the regular season or the equivalent of 12.5% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistance program or similar education program in order to be reinstated. Note, with a self-referral for first-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, or drug paraphernalia. Suspension for 12.5% of the regular season or 12.5% equivalent of the regular season. Should the student also volunteer to complete a student assistance program or similar approved educational program and the time frame permits such participation prior to the completion of a season, the penalty will be reduced to 1 competition or performance. Something new for second-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia without any other first-time offense in areas 1 to 9 that were found above. Suspension for 25% of the regular season, or the equivalent of 25% of the regular season. The student must complete a student assistance program or a similar educational program in order to be reinstated. Note, any student with a previous code of conduct violation in this area who meets the definition above for a second-time offense would be eligible for this new language. Second violations with the self-referral on page 22. Suspension for 50% of the season or the equivalent of 50% of a season with the following additional requirements. 1, a 20-hour community service plan. And 2, meeting with the high school social worker and or the district's ATODA coordinator and following through with any recommended course of action. Third violation, suspension for 1 full school year. Fourth violation, the student loses the privilege to participate in co-curriculars for the remainder of his or her academic career in the district. Regarding penalties for an honesty referral, a first offense, suspension for 16.6% of the regular season or the equivalent of 16.6% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistant program or similar approved educational program in order to be reinstated. For first-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia, suspension for 12.5% of the regular season or the equivalent of 12.5% of the regular season. Should the student also volunteer to complete a student assistance program or similar approved educational program and the time frame permits such participation prior to the completion of a season, the penalty will be reduced to 2 competitions or performance dates. For second-time offenders in the area of knowingly in the presence of alcohol, illegal drugs, and or drug paraphernalia, without any other first-time offense in areas 1 to 9 found above, with the honesty referral, suspension for 33.3% of the regular season or the equivalent of 33.3% of the regular season. The student must also complete a student assistance program or similar approved educational program in order to be reinstated. Note, any student with a provision or with a previous code of conduct violation in this area who meets the definition above for a second-time offense will be eligible for this new language. Category B activities, a 15-hour community service plan. Second violations with an honesty referral for category A and B activities, of which sports are Suspension for 60% of the season, or the equivalent of 60% of a season, with the following requirements. 1. A 25-hour community service plan. And 2. Meeting with the high school social worker and or district's ATODA coordinator and following through with any recommended course of action. The program must be successfully completed prior to eligibility being reinstated. Third violation for an honesty referral, suspension for 1 full school year. And a fourth violation, the student loses the privilege to participate in all co-curricular activities during the remainder of his or her academic career in the district. Now, for areas number 6 through 9 on pages 20 and 21 of the Code of Conduct, for hosting a party, supplying alcohol or drugs, school AOTA violation, use of tobacco, nicotine, and related products by a student. With the self-referral and or an honesty referral, please note the different categories as previously stated for first violation, second violation, third violation, and fourth violation consequences. On pages 24 and 25 are items numbered 10 through 14, which are offenses cumulative within themselves only and apply to all activity categories referenced in this handbook. Criminal offense, number 10, or a violation of a city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart. The significance of the violation will be evaluated and the suspension will be determined based on the severity of the offense. Please note the new WIAA rule this year. Any student charged and or convicted of a felony shall upon the filing of felony charges become ineligible for all further participation until the student has paid his or her debt to society and the courts considered the sentence served, including probation and community service. Note the following OASD rule could apply in addition to the WIAA rule above. If a student is charged with a felony, the student could lose the right to participate in athletics, activities, and or clubs for the remainder of his or her high school career in the district. Also regarding criminal offense or a violation of a city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart. If a student uses the self-referral and or honesty referral option outlined above previously in this handbook, his or her suspension may be reduced depending on the severity of the offense for first or second violations only, and this excludes all felony charges. Keep in mind other areas that I want you to be familiar with. Number 11, acts of harassment including hazing. Please note, harassment and hazing activities can be considered illegal and are not tolerated in the district. And number 14, illegal or inappropriate use of the internet and or electronic devices, as was previously mentioned earlier in this online presentation. On pages 25 and 26 are behavioral offenses, which are subject to loss of participation privileges. I'm going to highlight a couple in particular. Number 4, truancy. A student participating in activities might not be permitted to participate in the next scheduled contest whenever the student is deemed truant as defined by school policy, unless administration grants permission to participate. Students, you need to be in the classroom at all times. Skipping class can and will have a consequence for you for athletic participation. Letter 5, behavior or conduct which reflects unfavorably on a student. The significance of the violation will be evaluated and the suspension will be determined based on the severity of the offense. As I mentioned before, examples include an in or out of school suspension or an activity that might be considered or is considered a violation of the law. Cheating. Number 6, first offense during one's high school career. The teacher involved will handle the situation in the classroom and make contact with the activities coordinator. Notification goes home to the parent. Second offense during one's high school career and any additional offenses. The student will be referred to the activities coordinator for a behavioral offense or a code of conduct violation. The significance of the violation will be evaluated and the suspension will be determined based on the severity of the offense. Note, for any first offense found to be especially serious, administration reserves the right to invoke a second offense consequence. Students, if you're not sure about what's allowed regarding group work, sharing of work, any written projects, please talk with your teacher to get clear directions first and foremost. And on page 26, failure to be a student in good standing. A student must be a student in good standing at each school year checkpoint in order to compete in any co-curricular event. A student in good standing is defined as: you adhere to your high school code of student conduct. 2, you adhere to your high school attendance and tardy policies. 3, you have no unserved detentions. Checkpoints for the 1920 school year include October 1st, the start of each winter sports season, January 13th, the start of each spring sports season, and April 13th. Only administrative approval will allow a student to compete in co-curriculars if a student is not a good standing at each checkpoint. Note, the minimum penalty for code of conduct violations or behavioral offenses that result in a student being suspended for any portion of WIAA tournament competition is immediate disqualification of the student athlete for the remainder of the total tournament series in that sport. That is a WIAA rule. Again, student athletes, you have the ability to make choices. Please make good choices. And if you violate the district's code of conduct, please do the responsible thing. Self-refer, turn yourself in. Honesty is rewarded. And if you're questioned by the activities coordinator or other school official, please be honest. We reward students for that with our self-referral policy and or honesty policy if you meet the requirements. You only get 4 years to participate in athletics. Those 4 years go fast. Choices have consequences. Please make good choices. As I mentioned previously on page 26, I just covered the WIAA tournament series information on page 26. On pages 28 and actually 27 and 28 is the district's appeals process. Note, the Oshkosh Area School District Administration is committed to providing students an opportunity to appeal co-curricular code of conduct violation determinations. On page 28, after a ruling of ineligibility from co-curriculars has been made, a student and or parents may formally appeal the decision in writing to the activity coordinator, provided an appeal is received within 10 days after notification is sent. Appeals may be filed only in reference to whether there was a code violation or not. An appeal may not be filed to change a consequence. Under number 3, after the appeal committee has gone through the appeal process, they will either uphold or abolish the co-curricular code suspension. Meaning if it's abolished, it never existed and is removed from the student's record. If it's upheld, the penalty stays in place. While the appeal process is occurring, the penalty for any violation will remain in effect. And note number 4, the decision by the appeal committee will be final and binding. On pages 28 to 30 is information regarding awards for participation in athletics and all conference. Note, to qualify for an award, the athlete may not be suspended for any alcohol, tobacco, drugs, drug paraphernalia, performance-enhancing substances, vandalism, criminal offense, or violation of a city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart, or other serious offense considered unbecoming of an athlete. However, if an athlete self-refers to the activities coordinator for first-time offenses in the area of alcohol, tobacco, drugs, drug paraphernalia, performance-enhancing substances, vandalism, and possibly criminal offense or violation of a city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart, the athlete may be eligible to receive any school award earned during that season once all obligations concerning the referral have been fulfilled. Again, you must meet the self-referral criteria. Also, be aware of the following district all-conference guideline. Any OASD student athlete suspended from participation for an athletic contest due to a code of conduct violation in the areas of alcohol, tobacco, drugs, drug paraphernalia, performance-enhancing substance, vandalism, criminal offense, or violation of a city-county ordinance having a statutory counterpart, or other serious offense considered unbecoming of a student athlete, will not be eligible for all conference recognition in any conference in the sport where the suspension is initiated. Please note, if you're a very talented athlete and you're not eligible for all conference, you may not be eligible, or more than likely won't be eligible, for all region or all state, or possibly to participate in the all-star game for that sport. The moral of the story is, make good choices. Don't put yourself in a position where you could lose the ability to participate in athletic events. On pages 30 and 31 is the district's communication policy. A couple items 1 through 10 that I want to mention. Number 1, coaches are required to operate under an open door policy where they will candidly respond to questions or concerns from either the student or the parent. Parents are asking you, if you're a student or you have questions regarding your child's role or playing time, to have your student set up a time to talk with your coach directly first. If you feel the need to be there as well, please do so. Coaches are required to schedule a time to meet with you and have an open door policy. If you contact school administration first, we will direct you to talk with that coach first and foremost. Number 5, communication by all parties will be carried out in a rational, calm, mature discussion with respect shown to all, meaning we all need to come in with an open mind and be willing to listen to all sides. And finally, remember, negative approaches to problem solving do nothing but make the environment for all more destructive. Students, parents, coaches, and school administrators must all work together to create a mutual trust fostered by open communication. Regarding sportsmanship, on page 31 and 32 of the district's co-curricular handbook, I want to just mention in particular the Fox Valley Association expectations of parents, guests, and other fans. Game attendance is a privilege, not a license to verbally assault others or to be obnoxious. Be respectful of game officials, players, coaches, opposing fans, and facilities. Be an exemplary role model by positively supporting teams in every manner possible, including content of cheers and signs. Cheer positively for your team. Never cheer negatively for the opposing team. Respect the judgment and strategy of the coaches, players, and officials. Recognize outstanding performance by both teams involved. And most importantly, be a fan, not a fanatic. Failure to comply with any of the aforementioned rules can result in the spectator being removed, possible further discipline by towards a student by school administration, and or loss of attendance privileges for parents. So again, please represent the athletic program you participate in, the school, and our community with class by being a positive role model. Be a gracious winner and loser. On page 32 are other resources that are very valuable for student athletes and parents. The FoxValleyAssociation.org website is a wonderful website where all of the Oshkosh West schedules can be found. Parents can sign up for a Notify Me service, which is free, where you can get free email, text messages regarding schedule changes or cancellations. It's a wonderful service. I strongly encourage you to sign up for it. It's under the Notify Me link. The Fox Valley FEAsports.net is a conference website with the latest and most up-to-date information about all of the athletic programs in the Fox Valley Association. Please follow me on Twitter at OWHS Activities, as I like to highlight all the great things our student athletes are doing in sports, as well as our students that participate in activities. Again, those are many of the highlights of the district's co-curricular handbook. Again, remember, you are responsible for anything found within the district's co-curricular handbook. If you have questions about anything at all, please stop in and see me, Mr. Judarski, the activities coordinator, or contact me. My email address is on the front of the cover, as well as my office phone number, and on my voicemail is my cell phone number. If you email me, that's usually the preferred means. I promise I'll get back to you in a quick manner. Other resources in the athletic handbook include the eligibility overview for athletes from the WA for 1920. Please familiarize yourself with that to make sure you are eligible as a student. The next item I want to pay attention to, and I'm going to go over in detail, is the 2019-2020 WIA High School Athletic Eligibility Information Bulletin. Again, this is a quick synopsis of many of the most important rules and regulations as far as a student athlete being eligible to participate in sports in the WIAA. Again, if you have a question on anything at all, please let me know. I'm going to cover some of the more important areas, but please make sure you're familiar with all the areas found in the Information Eligibility Bulletin. Regarding age, a student shall be ineligible for interscholastic competition if he or she reaches his or her 19th birthday before August 1st of any given school year. So anybody that turns 19 before August 1 of the 1920 school year would not be eligible. Under residence, a full-time student, whether an adult or not, is eligible for varsity interscholastic competition only at the school within whose attendance boundaries his or her parents reside within a school district, with the additional provisions found below in letters A through J. Regarding transfers on page 2 of the eligibility bulletin on the bottom, a full-time student may be afforded up to 8 consecutive semesters of eligibility upon entry into grade 9. Transferring schools at any time may result in restrictions being imposed on eligibility, or in some cases, a denial of eligibility. For the purpose of this rule, attendance at one day of school and or attendance at one athletic practice shall determine beginning of school year. These additional provisions relate to transfer cases. Please note, parents, these are WIA transfer rules. A student who transfers from any school into a member school after the 6th consecutive semester following entry into grade 9 shall be ineligible for competition at any level for one calendar year, but may practice unless the transfer is made necessary by a total and complete change in residence by parents. The calendar year will determine from a student's first day of attendance at the new school. That is a complete and total necessitated move. Any move may not be considered a complete and necessitated total move by a parent, so keep that in mind. If you have any questions, parents, please contact me. I can help. Letter B, students entering 9th and or 10th grade at the beginning of the school year and who are within the first 4 consecutive semesters of high school will be afforded unrestricted eligibility provided all other rules governing student eligibility are met. Letter C, students entering 11th grade are restricted to non-varsity opportunities for one calendar year. Letter D, students entering 12th grade as transfer students are ineligible at any level for one calendar year but may practice. Letter E, 9th grade students who transfer after the beginning of the school year and with written consent from both schools directly involved shall be restricted to non-varsity opportunities for the remainder of the school year. Restrictions are removed upon entering 10th grade. 10th or 11th grade students who transfer after the beginning of the school year and with written consent from both schools directly involved shall be restricted to non-varsity opportunities for one calendar year, 365 days with first day of attendance at the new school. Letter G, in the event of divorce or legal separation, whether pending or final, residence at the beginning of the school year shall determine eligibility for students entering 9th and or 10th grade. In situations involving transfer after the 6th consecutive semester following entry into grade 9, the student is ineligible to compete at any level for one calendar year, but may practice. Letter H, district policies with respect to intra-district transfer do not supersede WIA transfer rules in situations involving post-6th semester transfers. Intra-district transfers occurring after the 6th consecutive semester following entry into grade 9 result in the student being eligible for competition at any level for one calendar year, but may practice. Again, the moral of the story here is if you're a transfer student or considering transferring, please make sure you are going into it with your eyes wide open and are aware of the WIA transfer rules. Training and conduct section of the Information Eligibility Bulletin on the middle of page 3 of the bulletin. Note, a student athlete must follow his or her school's code of conduct or training rules on a year-round basis. In particular, note letter C, any student charged and or convicted of a felony shall, upon the filing of felony charges, become ineligible for all further participation until the student has paid his or her debt to society and the courts consider the sentence served. Letter G, very important, student athletes. Any student who is in the judgment of the official intentionally spits on, strikes, slaps, kicks, pushes, or aggressively physically contacts an official at any time shall be immediately ineligible for competition a minimum of 90 calendar days from the day of the confrontation. In addition, the player is ineligible to compete for the first 25% of the next season in that same sport. Students, never put yourself in a position where you're having a confrontation with an official where this rule could apply, as it has very significant and serious consequences. Amateur status section. Please note, probably one of the most important sections to be familiar of and to make sure you've paid attention, read, and are understanding of in regards to the Information Eligibility Bulletin. A student athlete must be an amateur in all recognized sports of this association in order to compete in any WIAA sport. Letter A. A student athlete may not accept, receive, or direct to another reimbursement in any form of salary, cash, or share of game or season proceeds for athletic accomplishments, such as being on a winning team, being selected for the varsity team, or being a place winner in an individual tournament. When in doubt about whether to take something, don't. And come check to see if you can or could. B. A student athlete may receive a medal, cup, trophy, or plaque from the sponsoring organization, regardless of cost. School mementos valued not more than $200, an award not valued more than $100 retail for participation in an athletic contest in a WIAA recognized sport. And a student athlete may retain non-school competition apparel worn by the student as part of the team uniform. All items given may not be considered part of the team uniform, such as a hat, so when in doubt, ask before you keep it and or take it. C. A student athlete may not receive compensation or benefit directly or indirectly for the use of name, picture, and or personal appearance as an athlete because of ability, potential, and or performance as an athlete. I'm going to jump to E. A student athlete may not be identified with or without permission as an athlete, provide endorsement as an athlete, or appear as an athlete in the promotion of a commercial advertisement and or profit-making event, item, plan, or service. Never let your photo, likeness, name be used in connection with any type of commercial endorsement of a product or where you get benefit indirectly or directly due to having your name, likeness, picture used. When in doubt, don't, and come ask. We'd be happy to help. Letter D. A student athlete may not receive free or reduced rates on equipment, apparel, camps instruction, and competitive opportunities that are not identical for any or all interested students, meaning if you're a track athlete, you can't go to a shoe store and get a 10% discount just because you're a track athlete or cross-country runner. That 10% discount would have to be available to any high school student, or by taking that discount, because it was only available being a track athlete or a high school student athlete, would put you in amateur status violation. So again, when in doubt, don't take it. Make sure it's a discount available to any and all high school students, or ask. Letter F. A student athlete may not participate in school athletics or in school activities outside the school under a name other than his or her own. Don't think that, hey, I want to participate in this non-school event, I'm just going to pretend I'm somebody else. By doing that, you would render yourself ineligible for amateur status. Amateur status violations can be career-ending, so it's extremely important you don't put yourself in a position where you can be in violation of amateur status provisions. When in doubt, don't take something. Don't let your name, likeness, picture being used. Come find out and ask. We'll be happy to help you if you can or cannot do that particular thing. Regarding sports activities outside of school section found in the Information Eligibility Bulletin, as mentioned before, athletes may compete in not more than 2 non-school competitions with prior school approval. Again, that's key. Prior school approval, meaning coach and AD, during each regular sports season. The contest will not count against the individual maximum for the athlete in that sport. Non-school competition will not be allowed during the respective WIAA tournament series in a sport. Note, violations of this rule result in loss of eligibility for the remainder of the season and the forfeiture of the 2 non-school opportunities. There are some letters A through E or F that are under that section. I want to mention some in particular. Letter A. WIAA rules do not prevent athletes from practicing with non-school teams or from receiving private instruction during the school season. Please communicate those desires with your coach to see if the club policy applies. However, they may not participate officially or unofficially in more than 2 non-school competitions or races, including scrimmages, against other teams. Note under letter A, number 3, a student who is a member of a school team during the previous year may not delay reporting for the school team beyond the school's official opening day of practice in order to continue non-school training or competition. Or meaning, let's say you're a swimmer and you're also in club swimming. You need to start your WA season the first day in order to still be able to maybe participate in the club once the high school season starts. You have to report the first day of practice. Don't delay in reporting. When in doubt, ask the AD or your coach and we'll give you the information you need to know. So again, the moral of the story, be sure to go to your first day of practice that's established and scheduled for the high school sport that you're participating in. Parents and students, please note letter C. A student athlete and or his or her parents must pay 100% of the fee for specialized training or instruction such as camps or clinics and similar programs. You cannot get a break on those things or you can be found to be in violation of amateur status. And letter E. A student athlete must not participate in an all-star game or similar contest. Note, some postseason all-star opportunities may be permitted for 12th graders who have completed high school eligibility in a particular sport. Please check with the AD and or your coach for additional information. Again, the WIA Information Eligibility Bulletin contains a ton of great snippets of many of the most important things regarding our WA rules and regulations. If you have a question about anything, please ask. Parents and students, on the last page, there's a sign-off form. You do not need to sign and turn that in. Our Agreement of Parent and Athlete form is considered the sign-off on the high school eligibility bulletin. Again, additional resources found in the co-curricular handbook is the WIA banned substance and performance enhancing list. Previously mentioned that, but if you have questions about anything in regards to that, please let me know. There's information from the National Federation that's a parent's or guardian's guide to concussions. Please be sure to review this. When in doubt, our coaches sit athletes out. Know the signs and symptoms or look for us regarding possible concussions for your student athletes. Again, there'll be additional concussion information that was provided in the video, and there'll be a handout from Ascension as well, but this resource guide is a great tool for you. There's information from the National Federation regarding hazing. The National Federation defines hazing as any humiliating or dangerous activity expected of a student to belong to a group, regardless of their willingness to participate. Some practices associated with high school hazing carry the potential for serious bodily harm or even death. Please note, students, harassment and hazing are illegal activities, violations of the law. They're not tolerated at Oshkosh West. If you feel you are being hazed and or harassed, please talk with your coach and a school official immediately. If you're a captain or a member of a school team and you feel somebody's behavior is getting into a gray area, please do the respectful and responsible thing. Ask that behavior to stop. Let your teammates know that that's not acceptable. Again, we don't want to be that school or program that's on the news for hazing or harassment activities. Remember our Wildcat core values and the Wildcat way. And again, if you feel you're being harassed and or hazed, please let a school official know. There's some myths regarding hazing that are found on the last page of the hazing document, meaning newcomers want to be hazed. No one wants to be abused, humiliated, or embarrassed. We only haze a little bit. It's really not that bad. That's like saying I only steal a little. I'm not really a thief, which we know isn't true. If we eliminate hazing, our members will be just like anybody else. A truly well-organized, positive program results in initiates who are eager to work for and help the group and who can better serve as leaders. So again, hazing, harassment, we have a zero tolerance policy here at Oshkosh West. The last parent documents in there is a positive sport parenting tool. I encourage you to take the parent self-assessment and then see how you scored, which is on the back of the last page. Also in our co-curricular handbook, inside the back cover is the Oshkosh Wildcat Creed. as well as the Oshkosh West Athletic Department and core values. If you are a student athlete who has aspirations of competing in athletics beyond college, if you have desire or would participate in an NCAA Division I or II institution, you need to be aware of the NCAA Eligibility Center. There are specific academic and paperwork requirements that will need to take place. It'll be imperative that you work with your guidance counselors right away to make sure you're on the right academic track. Again, to participate in any athletics at the next level beyond high school. But again, the higher the NCAA, meaning Divisions 1 and 2, typically the higher the academic requirements that are there. So again, if you have questions, feel free to see me in the athletic office or work with your guidance counselor. If you are a transfer student, someone who is brand new to the district and will be participating in Oshkosh West for the first time this school year and participating in athletics, it's imperative that you get a hold of me. There are additional paperwork requirements we need to go through to make sure you are going to be eligible to participate not only in the sport, but to even begin practicing. My phone number and email address are found on this slide. Feel free to reach me ASAP and or stop in and see me at the main office at Oshkosh West. Oshkosh West provides locks in our varsity locker rooms for our student athletes. You are expected to use that lock, and you must and should lock up all your valuables all of the time. Never leave your locker unlocked. And when your sports season over, the expectation is you will clean out your locker. Even if you participate in a sport the next school season, that year you will be issued a new locker. So again, use your locks, lock up your valuables, and clean out your locker when your season is done. Parents and students, the Oshkosh West Booster Club is a great organization that provides financial support for all of our athletic programs. Each and every year they provide tens of thousands of dollars to our athletic programs, and they can't do it without your help. Parents, the Booster Club meets typically the first Wednesday of the month at 6:30 in the O Room, and there are a number of fundraising events that take place during the course of the school year. We need your help, whether it be participating in those individual fundraisers. The other big thing we need your help with is working the concession stand. All of our sports are assigned to work concession stand events during the course of the school year. The bigger the sport, the more events that are assigned to that sport. So when you get that call, parents, please do your part. Take a turn, sign up, help out in the concession stand, and get involved in our Booster Club fundraisers. Come to the meetings, participate in the events, show that Wildcat pride. The Booster Club needs your help. Thank you for viewing this online presentation. I hope you have a great 2019-20 school year and hope all of your athletic seasons are a tremendous success. Again, if there's anything at all that you have a question about regarding this presentation and or found within the OASD Co-Curricular Handbook, please feel free to contact me, Brad Jadarski, the Activities Coordinator. Again, my email and phone number are found on the cover of the Co-Curricular Handbook, and I'm located in the main office at Oshkosh West. We appreciate all the sacrifice, dedication, and effort you provide to your athletic endeavors. We wish you nothing but the best of luck, and go Wildcats.